Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Friday, March 1st. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've seen precipitation mainly over the northern half of the Great Basin, with drier conditions recently over southern Nevada, southern Utah, and even parts of western and eastern Utah, aside from the higher elevations. Over the last 72 hours, however, we have a much stronger system moving into the Great Basin, and this has produced some snowfall already up in the Sierra, northwest Nevada, and then we have had some snowfall up into central Idaho as well, with lighter amounts further east. But we will see more significant precipitation moving forward. Our snowpack is still generally near to above normal in most areas, with the exception of central Idaho and western Nevada into the Sierra. But with this storm especially moving in here over the next couple of days, we will see significant rises to the snowpack in the Sierra and more modest increases to the snowpack up in Idaho. The satellite loop from this morning shows this very strong area of low pressure off the west coast, and this has brought very strong winds to the Great Basin yesterday, and these stronger winds will continue today and going into the weekend across many areas of the Great Basin. Also, quite a bit of moisture associated with this low, so we will see significant snowfall amounts in upwards of 4 to 8 feet up in the Sierra, and even down into the valley locations in Nevada. We will see snowfall, and this system will be tracking eastward, affecting really all areas of the Great Basin going over the next couple of days. So for later today, again, you can see the system really along the west coast, which with much of the moisture over the northern half of the Great Basin. Again, these strong winds will continue, so we will see very good transport winds across the Great Basin, but again, we'll see very significant wind gusts. So for today, you can see the strongest winds are across the western half of Nevada. Yesterday, we saw wind gusts in excess of 60 or 70 miles per hour in the valleys and over 140 miles per hour at the ridge tops in the Sierra. So these gusty winds will continue today, but not quite be as strong as what we saw yesterday. But as you can see, across all of Nevada and Utah and even parts of Idaho, we will see these stronger wind gusts moving across today. Mixing heights will obviously remain very high due to the winds. Temperatures will be dropping across the Great Basin, so we will see highs in the 30s and 40s over the northern half of the area, and still in the 50s in the lower elevations of much of Utah, and then further south up in the 60s. Relative humidity will remain above 25 or 30%, but we will see these numbers go up over the next couple of days. For Saturday, this first cold front sweeps across the Great Basin, again still keeping strong winds and most of that precipitation over the northern half of the region. So for Saturday, the strongest winds will be across the southern and eastern half of Nevada, much of Utah into northern Arizona. These wind gusts, again, will be in excess of 50 or 60 miles per hour down in the valleys, with much higher wind gusts on the ridges. Mixing heights will obviously remain high. Saturday temperatures will remain similar to what we'll see today, a little bit cooler up in Idaho with highs in the 20s in the higher elevations, but still 40s and 50s across Utah and mid-60s down south. We will see some cooling on the west side though. Relative humidity will be on the rise, so no real issues with fire potential with the exception of, again, of these very strong winds. So obviously a concern if there are any areas of still prescribed burning or pile burning, that'll be something to monitor with the winds. And also we will again, see these very, very strong winds that could cause some down power lines in some areas depending on the location. As we move into Sunday, we will still keep this presence of low pressure along the west coast, still strong winds across especially the southern half of the Great Basin. We will continue to see storms moving through the Great Basin every few days. So for Sunday, the strongest winds will be moving south and east of the Great Basin, but still breezy across the area, with still some gusts above 40 or 50 miles per hour over far southern areas, and mixing heights will remain high. Temperatures will remain similar over the northern and western half of the Great Basin on Sunday that we will see tomorrow. However, you'll see more significant cooling across Utah and southern areas of the Great Basin. Again, relative humidity remains above 25 or 30%, but we will see showers impacting many areas of the Great Basin. And you can see that with our 3-day precipitation. Obviously, the heaviest precipitation will be the snowfall in the Sierra and heading into western Nevada, but we'll also see good amounts of precipitation across parts of Idaho, the eastern half of Nevada, and especially the higher terrain of Utah. Some of the drier spots you can see are southern Nevada and parts of the Arizona Strip. As we move into Monday, still low pressure along the west or over the west coast really, so we will see weaker systems moving through going into the early part of next week, but certainly nothing as strong as the system impacting the area here over the next couple of days. Transport winds will still remain elevated with good dispersion. This trough continues to affect the area on Tuesday. Again, precipitation in most areas with the exception of the far south. And then on Wednesday, we'll start to see the low track east, so we'll see some drying conditions temporarily across the Great Basin, but there are additional storm systems headed our way for the weekend. And again, Thursday, you can see that drying trend still continue before that next area of low pressure well off the west coast starts to push moisture into the region. So our precipitation for Monday through Wednesday is shown here. So again, lighter precipitation certainly than what we'll see over the next couple of days with this really strong system, but still at least showing light precipitation across many areas of the Great Basin, some additional snowfall up in central Idaho and also in the Sierra. So parts of eastern southern Utah, the Arizona Strip, and far southern Nevada really won't see much of that moisture, but certainly an increase in humidity and some clouds. And then going later in the week, Wednesday through Friday, again, still weak systems moving through, bringing some light showers, but for the most part, there will be more areas of drying going from mid to late next week before the next storms over the weekend. And then the 7-day total precipitation, obviously, most, if not all areas, at least receiving some light precipitation, if not obviously some of that heavier precipitation in the mountains. And the 8 to 14-day outlook from March 8th through the 14th shows cooler and wetter conditions still impacting the Great Basin through the middle of the month. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Monday for the latest updates.